Alright, so again we are working with exponents and the laws of exponents. So let's look at our first example. We have negative 16 raised to the power of 6 times 16 raised to the power of negative 4 all over 16 to the power of 3 times 16 to the power of negative 1. Now, you can see we have 16 as the bases, but we have a negative 16 up here. And there is something we can do. Since we have an even exponent, we can change the sign of the base because a negative 16 raised to an even exponent is the same value as a positive 16 raised to the even exponent. So let's go ahead and rewrite this as 16 to the power of 6 times 16 to the negative 4 over 16 cubed times 16 to the negative 1. Now, there's many ways we can do this. I like to just do the numerator and the denominator separate and then go from there. So let's look at our numerator. We have 16 to the power of 6 plus negative 4, and that's going to come out to 16 squared over 16 to the power of 3 times 16 to the negative 1, which is also 16 squared. If we subtract these out, we know we have 16 to the power of 0, which is going to equal 1. In this example, we have a lot of decimals and the negative base. 0.064 times 0.4 to the 6 all over negative 0.4 to the power of 2. Now, what we know about our number here, 0.064, 0.064 is the same thing as 0.4 raised to the power of 3. So this is the same as this. If we bring everything else down, 0.4 to the 6 all over. Now again we have a negative base, but we have a even exponent, so we can just change this to a positive. So that's all over 0.4 squared. Now let's work out my numerator. 0.4 to the power of 9 over 0.4 squared. And that's going to come out to 0.4 to the power of 7. That's your final answer there. Alright, in this example we are working with scientific notation. So we have 3.9 times 10 to the negative 6 divided by 13. So right away we can just go ahead and divide my numbers out. So 3.9 over 13 times 10 to the negative 6. Now 3.9 divided by 13, if you work it out, comes to 0.3. Bring this down, times 10 to the negative 6. Now we want to change this to scientific notation also. So 0.3 is equal to 3 times 10 to the negative 1. Now, this and this are equal. So bring down my 10 to the negative 6. And now we can add our exponents here. So 3 times 10 to the negative 1 plus negative 6 is negative 7. And that's our final answer. And in my last example, we have very small decimals. Now what we can do with these, we can just change them to scientific notation and it will make it much easier to work with. So to change this to scientific notation, we got to count how many spaces there are. So we have a 6.64, so we know it's going to be 64 times something. Now let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this means it's going to be 10 to the negative 8. And we're going to divide that. We're going to change this also. So it's going to be 8 times 1, 2, 3, 10 to the negative 3. Now it's much easier to work with. We can rewrite it as 6.4 over 8 times 10 to the negative 8 over 10 to the negative 3. Now why over? Because of this. It's divided by. So 6.4 divided by 8 equals 0.8. 10 negative 8 over 10 to the negative 3 is 10 to the negative 5. Now again, we have to change this to scientific notation. So this is equal to 8 times 10 to the negative 1. Bring this down, times 10 to the negative 5. Now whenever we add up our exponents here, we have 8 times 10 to the negative 6. And that's your final answer.